Welcome and good morning. You have started to watch the public session of the Metrolinx board meeting. We, like all of you, expected to be back in the office by now, but safety warrants us to continue to meet virtually. My name is Anne-Marie Aikens, and I'm the head of media and public relations with Metrolinx. And I want to assure reporters that are watching and following along that I am still accessible. We will answer any of your questions that you have. Just send them to me by email, and I'll make sure that we get answers from Phil or any of our other senior management team. And I also want to remind you that at the end of the public session, I'll come back and to tell you when the next board meeting is that you can watch. And so I want to kick off this meeting by introducing you to our board chair, Don Wright. He's going to give you an introduction, and then we'll begin the public session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's meeting. As we start this morning's meeting, we'll begin with our land acknowledgement. But before we do so, I'd like to share that we have made some changes to the land acknowledgement we normally share. The last year, and especially over the last number of months, I've really called for deeper reflection, call to action, and a more meaningful steps taken towards reconciliation, collaboration, and partnership with our Indigenous nations and peoples. Let us take a moment to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Indigenous peoples, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. We are all treaty people. Many of us have come here as settlers and immigrants in this generation or generations past. Metrolinx declares its commitment to build meaningful relationships with Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the historic and continued impacts of colonization and the need to work towards meaningful reconciliation with the original caretakers of this land. We acknowledge that Metrolinx operates on lands covered by 20 treaties, and that we have a responsibility to recognize and value the rights of Indigenous nations and peoples and conduct business in a manner that is built on the foundation of trust, respect, and collaboration. Thank you. I'll now invite Chief Planning Officer Carla Avis Birch to lead us in our safety briefing this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. September always seems to be an unofficial start of the new year, and even with the pandemic changing what that looks like, the feeling of re-entry is still the same, and Anne-Marie started to speak to that a little bit in her opening. Returning patterns to school and to work remind ourselves that we have travel habits and travel routes that come in contact with the railway in your neighborhoods and your communities. We ask that you respect the railway corridor and that train movements within them are also respected. This includes contact when you are crossing the rail crossings at the stations, in your neighborhoods and streets. It requires extra care and extra awareness. At Metrolinx, we're finalizing a Rail Safety Week, and you'll soon be seeing that towards the end of the month. That will provide education with local schools and enforcement vehicles at several of the crossings. We also pair that with our COVID-19 toolkit and some return to work information of Safety Never Stops that you will also see over the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. As is my normal procedure, I'm going to share some of the correspondence that I've received over the last while and that has been distributed to our board. One, a letter from Dwight Richardson on behalf of the Royal Orchard Ratepayers Association dated August the 27th regarding the option 3 alignment for the Yonge North subway extension. A letter from Ian Reid and Keith Irish on behalf of the Royal Orchard Ratepayers Association and the Stop Option 3 Steering Committee dated August 27th regarding the option 3 alignment for the Yonge North subway extension. A letter from the Scarborough Campus Student Union, the University of Toronto Mississauga Students Union, the University of Toronto Graduate Students Union, the Continuing Education Students Association of X University, and the Association of Part-Time Undergraduate Students dated September the 6th, 2021, regarding affordable and accessible transit across the GTHA, and a letter from the Save Jimmy Simpson Community Group and the Lakeshore East Community Advisory Committee dated September 7th, regarding the environmental impacts of the Lower Don Bridge early works. I also want to note that so far Metrolinx has received more than 140 pieces of correspondence in support of light rail transit in Hamilton, and we continue to receive more every day. In addition to our usual quarterly reports, today we will have presentations on the progress we are making on our capital projects, further updates on our customer campaign to welcome riders back, as well as details on our bus service plans. But before we continue with those presentations and discussions, I'll invite our CEO, Phil Verster, to give his update. Over to you, Phil.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, everyone. I'm delighted today to bring you a story of progress and of the great steps we're taking on our capital program. And the very strong vaccination program in the province and the easing of lockdowns have meant that we've seen across the region that we've seen customers are returning to GO Transit and Up Express services. And as our customers return, they are finding increased safety measures at all of our stations, all of our vehicles, bus and train, and also at our facilities. We've implemented 40 COVID measures, everything from twice a day within 24 hours cleaning, as well as mandatory face masks, high-touch services that are getting cleaned throughout. And these measures have found from our customer satisfaction surveys, we have found that these measures have been widely complimented and accepted by our customers, which is a very good sign for us as we deal with the last vestiges of the pandemic. So today we'll have a presentation discussion on our Ready to Ride campaign, which is a strategic recovery plan for our ridership. You'll see that it is based in an understanding of trip purposes, offering great pricing incentive and a strong emphasis on our health program as far as customers go. And this weekend, we've seen another step up in weekend ridership numbers, and it's a great evidence for us of the strategy working. The weekend market segment has been the fastest to recover, and we are at ridership levels now that are close to 50% of the pre-pandemic levels. And we're also seeing that increased air travel is getting our Up Express services well supported, and that the ridership on Up Express have doubled in recent weeks. And it's great for us to see people coming back using our services. We are very carefully looking at customer demand, and we've responded to customer requests and return to services, including the reintroduction of a 30-minute all-day service on the Up Express, as well as increased weekend services on Barrie and Stover lines, as we've done during August. And last week, we reinstated the weekday express rail trips on the Kitchener and Lakeshore West lines as well, which has also been at the request and support of our customer advice. We also have more services on Barrie, Kitchener, Stouffville, and for the first time, GO buses will travel to the new Transit Kipling hub, and thereby we're extending our Route 29 through to Etobicoke. With this changes, GO service will match, and in some cases exceeded the service levels that was offered prior to the pandemic. And there's great news on our capital programs and as well. In July, we welcomed the first Finch West LRT vehicle to the operations, maintenance and service facility on the Finch West route and alignment. This is clearly a huge milestone. We are going to complete the track section within the OMSF and the maintenance facility, and start to test these new trains. And this is really important with trains arriving on time. Is always a good sign on all of these rail projects. We're also celebrating the arrival of the last of our new GO trains from Thunder Bay, and we received that on August 13. And we now have received all 36 of the extended order that we placed a couple of years ago. And this comes at a good time as we welcome ridership back to our railway. It also fits very well with our fleet plan for Encore, or the GO expansion, which is a program that continues with great momentum. Based on our further studies and optimizations of this all-day electrified GO service, we are planning to run it beyond our Aurora GO station up to Bradford GO in the future, while Barry South and Allendale Waterfront will now see a 30-minute two-way all-day GO service as well. And we're making these types of adjustments based on what we're seeing emerging from our capital plans, our ridership studies, and the demand for ridership. So on August 17th, the province and the City of Ontario confirmed the Smart Track Station program. We're extremely pleased about that, because we've been very keen to start the build on the Smart Track stations. And we are now proceeding with the procurement of 4 of these new GO stations in Toronto. The 5th one being East Harbour, where we are putting a lot of effort into developing the proposals for East Harbour. In late August, on Eglinton Crosstown, the testing of the vehicles, which is visible on the eastern end of the alignment, proceeded to a further level of advanced running in terms of speeds of testing and system integration testing. It's a very important sign of the progress we're making with our supplier project company, Crosstown Transit Solutions, CTS, as also a good sign. As our chair listed the letters that are coming in, we are busy with a very wide portfolio of capital programs, which includes quite a lot of community consultation and discussions with the community on options, everything from business cases through to environmental assessments and questions about which environmental assessment was done when and how, and what are the consequences of the decisions we're making. We're engaging very actively with stakeholders and with communities in public sessions, and we welcome anyone from the public with any questions, such as which our chair listed in the letters. Keep on writing to us. We follow up on each of these letters, and our community relations team will get in touch and answer the questions as they are posed. Extremely important for us to address these concerns and to make progress with our capital program. We have recently wrapped and retrofitted 2 GO buses and installed mobile vaccination facilities in these. And they're traveling across the Greater Golden Horseshoe region, and they provide vaccines to members of the public at malls and shows and festivals, community hubs and events. Recently, Rogers Centre, Mohawk College, Stony Creek campus, Georgetown Marketplace, and many other examples. Apparently, just in excess of 2,000 vaccinations administered and being very successful. We are proceeding to wrap and instate a 3rd vehicle for mobile clinic, and this is all helping the drive for vaccination. In Metrolinx, we are introducing a mandatory vaccination for all of our employees as we roll out our return to the workplace. This is another level of health and safety orientation we have, very strongly so, relative to our customers, as well as relative to the organizations and people we work with regularly on a day-to-day basis. And we are very excited about contributing to the economic recovery post the pandemic. And as we normally do in this session, we give recognition, and as Before we move on to the next part of our agenda, I just want to take a few moments to share that the Canadian Occupation Safety Organization recently announced Metrolinx as one of the 2021 recipients of Canada's Safest Public Transportation Award, which is much appreciated. And our Chief Safety Officer, Martin Gallagher, has also been selected as Safety Leader of the Year, which is fantastic, which will be officially presented in October, at the end of October. And Martin and his team led over the last year Metrolinx's COVID-19 response, our Safety Never Stop campaign, and various other safety programs, which reflects our commitment to safety. And we wish Martin all of the congratulations for this fantastic success. I also want to comment, just as a last comment, that Rob Fuller, our Director of Rail Services, has been chosen to receive the CUTA Award 2021 in category Edward J. Dowling Distinguished Service category. This is a fantastic achievement, and this award is presented to transit professionals who has excelled for 10 or more years, which brings a little bit of a smile if you consider that Rob, in June 2022, will have committed 50 years of his career to railroading. 50 years is just a fabulous achievement. So maybe Rob should be given 5 of these Distinguished Services Awards to acknowledge all of the 50 years. But fantastic service, Rob, with a career that spanned CN, Bombardier, and Metrolinx. It's a fabulous achievement. I'll now hand over to Matt to share some of the updates and the progress on our capital projects.
Thank you, Phil. As Phil said, a very quick run through of some of the real highlights of achievements on the capital program over the last couple of months, over the summer period, across the light rail transit, subways and Go Expansion portfolio. So starting with the light rail transit slide, if you look at the 2 photographs on the left-hand side of the slide, both of these photographs represent the Finch West LRT project, which is an 11-kilometre project running from Humber College to the new Finch West subway station with 16 surface stops. The top left photograph is the guideway construction, where vehicles will enter and exit the line from the maintenance and storage facility at the intersection of Finch Avenue West and York Gate Boulevard. This area will be among the first segments to be constructed and have operational tracks with energized overhead lines, and will be where we start our vehicle testing. The bottom left photograph, Phil referred to this in his CEO briefing, is the first Alstom light rail vehicle to be delivered to the Finch West maintenance storage facility. This arrived over 2 days on the 28th and 29th of July, a huge success for the project, and then was subsequently configured into a 4-module, 48.5 metre long unit, and this is the first of 2 vehicles that will be provided to that maintenance storage facility this year. So fantastic performance at Finch West. The top right photograph on the light rail transit slide is Eglinton Crosstown LRT, and we've focused over the last couple of updates on Eglinton as part of this briefing on surface segments. So it's good to share a photograph of how we're progressing on the below surface and underground stations. This particular photo is of Keelsdale Station and really represents how the architecture is designed to make the maximum use of natural light, and demonstrates how far we are on this project through the internal finishes and fit out stage, a real pivot from heavy rail and rail systems installation and construction. And the bottom right photograph is our Hurontario Rapid Transit project, an 18-kilometre rapid transit line with 19 stops. This photograph is at Port Credit Station and is completion over the summer of excavation of a box to the south and east of the Port Credit parking lot. This box is what we call a push box structure. It allows for construction of the tunnel that will be pushed underneath the GO line at Port Credit over the end part of this year. It's a methodology and innovation that minimises the disruption of GO Transit operation while we install the tunnel that will facilitate the rapid transit line here. And the station will then get built below grade, both under and to the south of the tracks. So 3 rapid transit projects covered on the first slide. We move to the second slide, which is our subways portfolio, starting on the top left and the bottom left, both photographs of Eglinton Crosstown West extension, a 9.2 kilometre extension to Eglinton Crosstown, running from Mount Dennis to Renforth. These photographs are of progress on our advanced tunnelling contract, and both show progress at the launch site. First pile of 250 was drilled on July the 6th to facilitate the launch shaft construction. We should have been reporting on the final pile being drilled on or about today, but we're actually drilled that pile a couple of weeks ago. We're slightly ahead of schedule through this construction, and crews are now installing tiebacks and ready to start excavation of the launch shaft area. So fantastic progress on the advanced tunnelling contract there. Top right picture is a very exciting picture for those involved in this project on Scarborough Subway Extension, because this is commencement of manufacture of the actual tunneling boring machine to be used for Scarborough Extension, being manufactured in Germany by Herrenlecht. It's a single machine. Scarborough will use a single 10.7 metre diameter boring machine. Interestingly, the community will have the opportunity to name this tunnel boring machine, and we'll be launching that engagement very soon. And once construction and manufacturing is complete and validated and assured, the tunnel boring machine will be dismantled and transported to Scarborough by ship, ready for moving into position at the beginning part of next year. And the bottom right picture is for Ontario Line, as it says on the slide, early works report for Lower Don Bridge. So this is some of the work that happens behind the scenes. Most of our slides are actually works on the ground and real physical progress on site, but this is the kind of work that we do to facilitate these projects. A 250-page report plus appendices covering an early works assessment, early works environmental program and assessment for the Lower Don Bridge, a bridge carrying Ontario Line over the Don River. That report also covered Don Yard improvements, and that report was filed on August the 25th. Moving on to the third slide, our GO Expansion Corridor capacity projects. The top 2 pictures here are Barry Corridor and Stouffville Corridor. In both cases here we have a corridor where performance of GO operations is limited by the infrastructure. Basically we have a 2-way service, but it's limited to an hourly service and must switch to peak direction only during rush hours due to the limited infrastructure on these corridors. So both corridors are being widened and additional tracks being added. So for top left, Barry Corridor, what we see here is visible progress on Barry Contract 3 Phase 1. We have several contracts on the Barry Corridor split geographically. This contract was awarded to a joint venture led by our partner Leadcore, and the picture you can see there is culvert replacement in August. Top right is an exciting photograph for me because I know just how difficult this piece of work has been to complete. West Highland Creek zigzags across our corridor across the Stouffville line 3 times in 1 kilometre. So a lot of civil engineering work required to widen the corridor, taking into consideration that it's interfacing with that creek. Key achievement over the summer was finishing 2 of those crossings, including the one that we can see here. And these were significant civil engineering challenges. The third to be completed has added technicality of interface with a CP bridge as well, and that's currently underway. Our bottom left photograph, we've spoken about this project several times. Very interesting project and one that we're very proud of. Highway 401 to 409 tunnel. at 180-meter long twin, what we call SEM, tunnels under 21 lanes of traffic. Very good to see that this was completed on time and under budget on the 21st of July, exactly on time, in fact, to our original committed date. And the bottom right picture, last picture on this slide, Davenport Diamond Guideway construction. You can see here the columns being installed to take the guideway. There are 54 columns, 27 pairs of columns to take the elevated guideway for the Barry line and remove a diamond intersection. So an intersection where two sets of tracks cross and increase service again on the Barry corridor. So work's progressing extremely well on the Davenport project currently. And should say as well, all underground works here, all piling works have been completed. That was a very difficult piece of work to be done with a large amount of community impact that was managed very well, and we're very appreciative to the community and our stakeholders for their patience as we carried out that work. But I think it's delivered very well by the project team. And the last slide, probably gone over 10 minutes already, but the last slide here, our Go Expansion Station projects. Phil touched on the bottom left slide, but I'll talk to it again in a second. Top left, the Union Station Bay Concourse opened to the public on July 27th, basically doubling the space available, the customer space available for Go at Union Station. It's part of Union Station under the east side of the building, which was where Go was based for most of its history, but has been closed for several years for reconstruction. Part of a huge volume of work being carried out at Union Station, particularly as we move in to the delivery phase of our Union Station Enhancement Project, an alliance, and the first alliance being delivered by Metrolinx and IO. So work's progressing very well at Union Station. Our bottom left picture there is Smart Track stations, commencement of procurement. As Phil said, Province and the City of Toronto signed an agreement for Smart Track stations on August the 17th, and we commenced procurement on exactly that day, on the same day. There are 4 procurements underway. 3 will use a construction management at risk procurement model. Those are St Clair, Finch Kennedy and King Liberty. And Bloor Lansdowne Station will use a design build model, but also released on August the 17th. Very quickly, top right picture is our early station improvements, which is improvements to 29 of our existing stations on the network, including rail platform tiles, new digital signage, modernisation of elevators, secure bike parking, electrical room upgrades, so a variety of works at those 29 stations, awarded to our partner Grasscan, and well underway into its final stages, just awaiting installation of bike shelters, actually, which were delayed by COVID, but they're pretty much moving into its very, very last stages. And bottom right, Agincourt Station, which is part of a P3 DBF contract for upgrade on the Stouffville line. And what we can see here is the new station building, which is tracking towards an opening for customers in the autumn and offers improved parking lots, new kiss and ride, obviously a much improved station facility. Ultimately, the overall P3 project will enable frequent two-way service on the Stouffville line. And we were looking to seek LEED certification for this project as well, which would be a fantastic achievement. So that's a very rapid run through of our achievements over the summer period.
Thank you, Matt. That's a very comprehensive look, although I know that there are many other projects on the go and you have your hands full. So any questions that any board members would like to ask?
Don, it's Michael. Just a quick comment. Matt, thank you very much for your report on the subways and the GO expansion, and certainly it looks like the team has made huge headway over the summer. Can you comment just on any of the stresses that we may have had with respect to the pandemic and employees showing up or contractors maybe not being able to commit on projects? It sounds like we've managed that issue well, and we seem to be on track on many of the files.
I think that's a fair comment, Michael. It's been managed very well, both by Martin's team, also by our supply chain. Definitely kudos and recognition to the supply chain in the way that they've managed the impact. Obviously, the additional constraints, both on impact on their employees, impact on people coming to site, but also in the working methods and the way that they've had to arrange themselves to carry on working productively has been significant, but generally speaking mitigated, and we are not seeing a huge impact on the significant completion milestones. And as you can see, we've achieved a huge amount over the last few months. I think it's fair to say we've adapted very well to the changing circumstances and managed to push on with the capital program.
Great, and thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you for that presentation, Matt, and we'll move on to our next item that Sharon is going to do for us, called Let's Get Ready to Ride. Sharon?
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. I appreciate that these materials have been pre-reviewed, so I'll keep my comments very tight. And I'd like to end with a short video that highlights some of the marketing work that is launched to support our Ready to Ride program. This program is very flexibly designed, helps us to respond to those environmental contexts that we don't necessarily have a lot of control over, but it's very deeply anchored in customer mindsets and insights and informed by a lot of data and trends that help us choose the right marketing mix at the right moment in time. And we have a very large cross-organization team to credit for all of this incredible work. They continue to deliver on a really robust integrated mix, including new products, reinstatement of services, and lots of great campaigns to support all of this work. And what we're seeing are some really great early outcomes. Vincent, if we can please go to slide 3. The results do speak for themselves. So Go and Up ridership is at a pandemic high, with July reaching 15.3% of pre-COVID levels. As Phil mentioned, that is, and as we expected, leading with those weekend riders who were taking leisure trips around the region, re-exploring, getting out there, reconnecting with their family and friends. For CSAT, Go Transit scored 87% in July, which is an all-time high, and it really does underscore and is indicative of customers continuing to recognize the importance of personal health and safety measures, communication reassurance, sustained on-time performance, and improved customer service and communication. So that's a score that we're all very proud of. CSAT is our lifeblood. In the past 2 months, I've also wanted to note that e-tickets have become a really important fare media choice for customers. They've moved from 1.5% of our weekly ridership to 7.6%, and this continues to grow week over week, thanks in part to new offerings, including the weekend pass. And what we've done is we've complemented that with really highly targeted advertising and digital improvements. So our passes, our e-tickets are very easy to find, easy to buy, and easy to use ultimately. Next slide, please, Vince. So throughout the summer, our product and service offerings have been eagerly welcomed by our early returning ridership. Leisure travel has led the return, and we were ready with the full 360-degree program. It's called Go Beyond. And this has inspired trips to destinations and opportunities for all types of riders, from families to millennials. And Niagara has continued to be that beloved and ever popular experience. Just this past weekend alone, we welcomed over 4,500 customers on our trips to Niagara. So we're consistently exceeding those pre-COVID levels. Next slide, please, Vincent. So while riding the rails for fun and at a great price has supported this strong and steady return, we've also turned our empty parking lots into an opportunity to bring incredible experiences to the many diverse communities that we serve. There's been more than 30 cultural events that have taken place across our network, and we also have a big welcome back to new and returning customer experience and retail partners. Next slide, please, Vincent. So with the impact and perception of the fourth wave slightly reduced with this successful provincial vaccine rollout strategy, introduction of vaccine status passports imminent, and strong consumer spending mobility, we're executing on the next phase of our Ready to Ride program. So this will really encompass some highly targeted campaigns. One will be a targeted Go radio and billboard advertising, talking to drivers, because we're starting to see numbers that are exceeding pre-pandemic levels when it comes to traffic. We'll also have a new campaign for Up Express that targets inbound and outbound travelers with some dynamic and breakthrough creative, keep your trip on track, and also a fresh and vibrant Presto app campaign, because we really do want to continue to promote the ease and benefits of that product and all of the updates that we have seen there. So with schools reopening and workplaces planning for return to work, we look forward to continuing to welcome back our new and returning riders to a healthy and safe service network that's ready to meet their needs. And with that, we will play our short video. Thank you, Vincent.
Thanks, Sharon.
Oh my God. Okay, thank you.
Meet Nima. Who's Nima, you ask? She is more than you could ever imagine. She's the friend people text when they're trying to cheat at trivia. She's the person who actually finished that article you said you read. When you ask Nima if she's seen anything good lately, you always find yourself saying, "Wow, I haven't even heard of that." How does she find the time? She takes GO Transit. Find your GO time.
This is your Up Express traffic report. And taking a look at today's traffic on the Up Express from downtown to Pearson, there is none. Yeah, nothing. Just open track all the way to the airport. To be honest, I don't know why we do these. This has been your Up Express traffic report. Up Express from downtown to Pearson Airport in only 25 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there's a few questions for you, Sharon. Janet, did you have a question, or was that?
Actually, yeah, I did. Yeah, just sorry, Sharon, and thank you very much for this. This is really good stuff. And I loved the community use of parking lots. They did a rib fest or something like that in my community just up the street. It was quite something. And I think the vaccine buses are a fabulous, fabulous idea. Just a quick, and this may be an unfair question, but you know, you've talked about the great customer service responses we've been getting in the last little while. The odd person I've talked to who's actually used the train, it's kind of like just them in the car. So like nobody else, or very few, right? Going back and forth. How much of that is contributing to how happy they all are on our trains?
That's a really good question. I would expect that they're enjoying the time in the space. We do expect that many people will return this fall, especially as schools have reopened and people are coming back to the workplace. But as Phil mentioned, there are very robust safety measures in place. We continue to reassure people our on-the-go alerts and our integrated customer communication strategies that Ian's team leads. You know, it's really helping people prepare themselves. We had a sponsored content series as part of our Safety Never Stops campaign, and that actually delivered. It exceeded our expectations by 87% in terms of like reading and preparing. So the anecdotally, what we're hearing and what we're seeing definitely from those customer satisfaction scores, which are, you know, completely defensible, is that people feel reassured and they feel ready to ride transit again. And you know, we're hoping that they will continue to feel confident and reassured with those measures as they start to see them across the network.
Yeah, that trust on safety is really important. Thank you.
Emily?
Hi, Sharon. A little confusion around, so interprovincial train travel requires proof of vaccination. Obviously, we are not requiring proof of vaccination for GO travel. from a communication strategy, is the approach to sort of focus on masks and sort of remain silent on that? Just wanted to get a little clarification on.
Yeah, we will obviously follow the lead of our stakeholder and our team, but as of right now, mask compliance is critically important. We do want to continue to reinforce that even though you may be double vaccinated, you still need to wear a mask on transit. That's critically important. And I expect that many other transit agencies are following that same policy. And as Phil mentioned, indeed, our own employees will be captured under a vaccination policy. But yeah, I think my comment with respect to the vaccine passports was more related to, the impact, the perception and impact of a fourth wave. And I think that these things that we're hearing from Google's Canadian Landscape Survey is that is helping to temper the fear and the anxiety, is that these things are in place or being put into place, and it's really dampening any sort of concern. It's really not impacting what we're seeing with the consumer spending and mobility trends. It's not impacting the overall, like the first wave did, for example.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay. If there's no other questions, thank you very much, Sharon, for that. It's a good presentation, and we look forward to seeing some of those ads as we go through our days.
Thank you for your time.
So the next item is bus services, and I'm going to hand it over to Eve Wiggins, who's going to take us through this. Welcome, Eve.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much. My name is Eve Wiggins, and I'm the Vice President of Bus Services at Metrolinx. And while the presentation comes up, essentially on slide 2, I'm proud to share our 10-year bus strategy and 3-year transformation plan, which will deliver an efficient and frequent Go Bus service to meet the needs of current and future Go Bus customers. The implementation of the strategy transforms Go Bus into a regional express bus with a target of 15-minute service on major corridors. It keeps connectivity as a core focus, both with transit partners and private carriers, and it supports both provincial investment by connecting all of the existing and new services as they come online. Finally, the last few slides of the presentation share how the new Union Station bus terminal is becoming a regional connection hub for GO, municipal transit, and the private carriers, and the revitalized approach to fleet cleanliness and efficiency with the Clean Bus Initiative and our most recent safety measure, the introduction of seatbelts. On slide 4, the Go Bus is a significant operation which serves an amazing network of over 40 routes carrying 1/5 of GO Transit customers. The strategy intends to grow Go Bus ridership from 17 million pre-COVID, 9 million projected for this fiscal annual boardings, to 22 to 24 million annual boardings by 2030. We have arrived at this projection by modeling the increase in housing and jobs in the region and anticipating the increase in 905 to 905 travel and, of course, the impact of COVID. The plan considers all existing and new services and develops a clear role for Go Bus. And to deliver, we have already started to leverage opportunities in our operations through efficiencies across our services, our resources, our fleet, and facilities. On slide 5, it was important for us to understand our customers, and research had told us they are predominantly 62% female and under 35. 69% of them are under 35. 63% have household incomes under 75,000. And a wide variety of trip purposes are taken on Go Bus. 1/3 work, but also 1/3 for students to universities, as well another third to shopping, entertainment, leisure, and just travel across the region. And finally, 72% of Go Bus customers do not connect to the rail network. To meet customer needs in the future, the plan is to focus on simplicity, providing an easy to understand route network, offering speed and frequency that connects to investment in the region, and importantly, make sure we deliver this in alignment with many service partners. On slide 6, Go Bus then becomes a fast connecting service to existing and future regional services. It anticipates growth across the region and offer that east-west travel as a complement and connector to the rail network and other partners. And our customers have told us that frequency gives them an opportunity to plan less for their journey and instead just show up and go, which will encourage greater travel. To deliver, we've started with becoming more operationally efficient and innovative in how we deliver existing services to maximize the use of our resources, moving to leveraging the increasing rail services and divert those services no longer needed to serve rail routes and more move them to regional express bus high frequency routes, and thereby increasing the overall efficiency of GoBus and delivering greater value to customers as well as to our stakeholders. On slide 8, our Union Station bus terminal opening in December last year enabled us to start working more closely with the private carriers to offering customers an extended reach when connecting through Union Station. We now have Talk Transit serving Port Elgin, Kincardine, Orangeville, Haliburton, Lindsay, Coach Canada under the banner of Megabus to London, Niagara, Ottawa, and Montreal. And hopefully when that US border opens, we'll be looking at services also to the United States. And of course, our Ontario Northland connecting to all points north of Barrie. On 9, just focus on the Clean Bus Initiative, with the pandemic being a catalyst to re-engineer and improve our overnight servicing of fueling, external washing and internal cleaning, and adding a semi-annual deep clean with great results. And we introduced recently driver touchpoint cleaning during layovers and at the start and end of their trips. Lastly, 46 new buses with seatbelts were rolled into service this weekend, and that's in alignment with the Transport Canada mandate for buses built after September 1st, 2020. This additional safety feature are required to be worn when present, just as you would in the car. These buses are currently operating out of our Hamilton and Streetsville garages and will likely be seen mostly on our western routes. We have added customer messaging on board and signage on every seat back, informing those customers when you're on board a bus with seatbelts, please buckle up. Thank you, and I'll take questions.
Thank you, Eve. You know, it's funny, when I read this, I knew the size of our bus portfolio and whatever, but I didn't realize there was more than 1,100 stops. It was quite amazing. Robert, you have a question.
Thank you, Don, and thank you, Eve. It is truly exciting. As the world moves to on-demand mobility, I think the 15-minute service is going to give us that opportunity to serve our customers in that way. My question relates to you talk a little bit about the fact that we have better connectivity. And what I think you're saying is that there's going to be more express opportunities across the region. Can you just speak to that? Are we actually reducing the number of connections our travelers, our traveling customers have to make a journey across the region?
That's right. So we've already introduced what we're calling a one-seat ride. So you can travel on one bus without needing to change buses all the way from Oakville over to Oshawa and from Hamilton over to Pickering. So we've already started to do that, knowing that that Jane 407 connection is cumbersome for customers at times. So offering them that simplicity to just travel right across the 407 is a huge opportunity for us. And we'll continue to do that as we find more city pairs where people like to connect. And that's really important to us, is not just the routes that we travel on, but where's the point to point that our customers are telling us they want to start from and they want to end from, and how do we deliver that much more simply and quickly for them.
Thank you. Luigi.
Yes, Eve, thanks. And it's really interesting how the bus service is going to be key to movement across the 905 to locations across the regions. Have you looked at precedents? I've seen that you've looked at the express precedents, but have you looked at precedents where the bus system works almost like a subway system, as in Curitiba in Brazil, where exchanges on and off are quicker because there's pre-platformed stops? It just seems that this might be something that would help us in that travel between 905 destinations.
Yeah, so that's what we're starting to look at is more zones. So customers know which zone generally their bus would be arriving in or departing from. So that's where they would head to. The drivers know that that's where their bus would be stopping at. And it just makes the system, even those who are, when other buses are in the area. Everybody knows where everybody else is going. So yeah, we're starting to try to provide a much clearer opportunity for all members of the system, the drivers and the customers, to know where they need to be, and then also that we can help them much more easily because we know where to guide and lead them.
Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Eve, excellent presentation, very exciting developments. And I think the way you depict it graphically is going to be very important to our customers, because I think all of our train routes really have this notion of going into the city and then out to points. And it's a very sort of Toronto-centric and then back out to the more suburban areas. And I think especially with COVID hitting us, there's going to be a whole lot of people that are living in those 905 areas and therefore are needing to connect work that goes across the region as opposed to the center of the city. So how do we use data and analytics to kind of inform our route choices, and what are some of the early indicators telling us about those trends that we're seeing as it relates to COVID? And I have one other quick question while I have the floor. People increasingly are using bikes as the last mile for their trips. And what happens if a customer, I think we only have 2 racks on the bike for the buses, and what happens if people with 3 customers have bicycles? What do we do in those instances? So 2 questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you. So your first question on data, a great opportunity is the Presto network. We know where taps are happening, where they're tapping on, where they're tapping off. We can see where their points are. I think also getting away from just individual routes and depicting routes individually, and rather depicting bus as a network, and showing for customers which routes they need to take, how they need to connect. Where we have the beautiful customer maps for rail, the same thing is planned and is in the works for bus as well. And then we're able to use our customer insights and divert our resources, as in our buses and drivers, to serving the right locations at the right frequency as well, and at the right times of day. On your bikes question, that is a conundrum for us because of the regulation with just 2 bike racks right now. Another option on the MCIs is for those customers who are willing. We do have the loading, the cargo areas underneath the MCI, the higher highway coach. And we have explored for those heavy bus routes, we're considering up to Barrie, and a similar model to what's happened on the rail, which is taking one of our double-decker coaches and potentially leaving the entire bottom floor indoors with all bike racks, and then the customers can sit upstairs. So we have a few options we're considering as we work with our customers and see what it is that they're looking for and where they want to take those bikes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last question to you, Michael.
Thank you, Don, and thanks, Eve, for that terrific presentation. In the last few months, there's been news that one of the major carriers, the bus carrier, is leaving Canada and leaving some of our more vulnerable northern communities kind of without service. Just have you noticed an uptick in ridership on our Metrolinx buses? And secondly, were we able to mitigate some of those routes and perhaps offer some service to help out some of the northern communities?
So we've noticed in the last 4 months a 21% growth in bus travel, which is really, really exciting. We were very strong during the pandemic compared to rail. Bus was very strong because it was able to go to all those places. We were picking up nurses, for example, and taking them to their jobs at the hospital. So bus has held relatively strong during the pandemic. It's been growing great guns over the last 4 months. So we're looking at that continuing as we now have a better idea of where customers want to travel to. And then you're right, there's been, unfortunately, it's the pandemic's taken its toll on some private carriers. So we are looking at where the other routes are that customers may need GO service. And then where, we are also talking to the private carriers just to see the other ones that are left, to see what are they doing. Because really what we don't want to be doing is unnecessarily negatively impacting another person's business as well. But we want to make sure all customers are served.
Well, that's terrific to hear, Eve. Thanks very much for that update.
Thank you. And with that, that brings us to the end of our agenda for this afternoon. So I'll hand it back to you, Anne-Marie.
Thank you very much, Don. And thank you, everyone, for your interest in the board meeting for Metrolinx. Our next meeting won't be until December 2nd. We won't know until we're closer to that date whether or not we'll be meeting virtually or within our board meeting room at Metrolinx, but we'll keep you posted on it. The video for this meeting, it will be posted in the coming days. And just a reminder to all of our reporters that may be following along, if you do have questions, please send them to me, annemarie.akins@metrolinx.com, and we'll be happy to get answers from our senior management team. And in the meantime, please stay safe, get vaccinated, and we'll see you in December.